good afternoon, everybody. This is Chuck, and this is
That's Lou. There's a better looking of the two old farts.
that's debatable. And
Well,
yes, right, we are the two old farts, and we are out and about. And welcome to episode 3 of our first season of the Two Old Farts Out and About podcast. So take it away, Lou.
what did we do this past weekend? We went to Floors, right? Friday night and had a good time. Saw a really great show. Mitchell Ferguson. Then we saw Austin Mead and his group. It was not my kind of music per se, but I'm going to tell you, it really was a great time. Floors is just a unique venue in itself.
I would have to definitely agree. It's been around since
It's been around 80 years, since 1942.
80 years. Oh my goodness, that's a lot older than I thought it
Yes.
was.
In 2006, it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
I did not know that.
And, uh,
Go ahead.
and actually, there's been a lot of live albums recorded there at Floors, as well as a couple of films, some short films and movies, and things like that. A lot of history about Floors.
Didn't Johnny Cash shoot part of a movie that he was in at Floors?
Yes. Then, of course, Willie Nelson. Actually, John T. Flores was actually part of Willie Nelson's group when he first started out. John T. Flores was with the downtown with the one of the theater groups down there when he opened JT Flores Country Store.
Okay, did not know that, but I did know that Willie Nelson was part of. God, his name escapes me.
Ray Price.
Ray Price. That is correct. He was part
Yeah.
of Ray Price's band, and Ray Price was part of Hank Williams's band.
Yep. Lot of history, and actually when it opened, it was intended just to be like a grocery store and stop off in between San Antonio and Bandera. Of course, this has grown into a
Just a
lot.
little bit, grown just a little bit. Yeah, since we got here in 1979, it's grown just a little bit.
So,
So you said that Mitchell Ferguson and Austin Meade weren't exactly your cup of tea, and I will agree, but they definitely have that rockin' country kind of a sound that I kind of like.
it is. If you love music, one of the things I noticed, and I think you and I talked about it earlier, is how they can appeal to the audience and how the audience responds to them and how they put on really a great show.
They do, and you and I were one of the first people in line to get in because we wanted to make sure we had a place to sit because we're two old farts and we need to sit down. We can't stand all night.
That's right.
But they started coming in pretty quick, and the folks that came in like immediately got up next to the stage to the railing, and they pretty much were there all night.
Well, that's part of what I think what makes Flores. It's a small crowd, great music, good food, and reasonable beer prices.
Yeah, I would say that, but I really enjoy, and my wife does too, when we go there, is getting the tamales. Those are out of this world. But what did you get for dinner on Friday night? What did you get for dinner? Hey, people, remember
I
you got to
had the
the brisket.
brisket sandwich, and you had your tamales, which they're well known for.
Yes, they are very well known for their tamales. I will say this: when you mention the reasonable beer prices, the one thing that Flores has done over the last few years, and I'm not a big fan of it, is that they've outsourced their food to a separate company, and
Yes.
then they made a deal with I guess with the the Budweiser distributor here in town, so they only distribute Budweiser products, and I'm not a fan of Bud Light, or any of those things. But thankfully, they do have Lone Star, which is good enough. Because if
Yeah,
you're from Texas, you better drink Lone Star beer.
yeah, they have a pretty good selection. And I think
They don't
I
have
think
any
what
Mississippi.
helps I think what helps is they have an amazing staff of people that work there. They're really friendly and helpful when you have questions and not sure about what you want.
That's true. But when it comes to beer, they only have Bud Light, Ziegenbach, and Mick Ultra.
Yeah,
That's it. Those are all Budweiser products, in case you did not know.
yeah, yeah. They need to put a little Shana in there, a little Shana bike in there.
Yeah, they need a little Shiner. They need some Lone Star Light. A little bit more beer for the masses. Oh, they used to even have a Robert Earl Keen honey ale. I think it was the honey ale. They had a Robert Earl Keen beer there for a while, but they don't carry that anymore either.
Yeah,
But aside from my complaint about the lack of beer selection, like you said, the staff is nice, it's friendly. The beer is always cold, it's always plentiful, and they always have good food. Again, I prefer the tamales, as does my wife. We do like the brisket. Do they have chopped beef sandwich? I can't remember if they do because I know you're also partial to that.
yeah. I like the venue. It's a real friendly atmosphere. They make you feel like home when you go out there, and it's nice when you look at the decor and all the people who's been there. A lot of names: Elvis, Johnny Cash,
Oh yeah, it's
Ray
definitely
Price.
who's who when you look at the pictures on the wall of all of the famous national acts that have come through floors.
I'm sorry.
I said it's definitely a veritable who's who of
Yes, it is.
when you
Yes,
look
it
at the
is.
pictures on the wall.
But I will tell you that Austin Mead show was really good. I really enjoyed. I like the music. I I like the way he got into with the crowd, the way the crowd got into him, and he had a big crowd there. I'd say probably what 200 or 300 people, maybe four.
Yeah, yeah. For 2 3 people for an indoor show, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
He's definitely he's starting to really come up with the fans, fan interaction. Like you said, they know the songs. They're giving it back. He's giving it to them. He's coming to floors a few times on his own, and he's come a few times as an opening act, and it's definitely showing. He's putting out records. He's touring all across the country, and his act is just getting better and stronger. And I was really impressed by that cover of Tears for Fears that he did. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It was a fantastic rendition.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes you have the opinion that in some of these small venues like that the acts that they attract or they hire or they bring in. But you look at Austin Mead. He's been around a while, and
Yeah.
did you know he's a son of a preacher, and that's how he actually got started playing the guitar with his father as a church ministry.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Uh, then when you look at, he's got a big tour over the next few months and stuff like that. I was looking at just all over.
Yeah, didn't he say that he had an album that had just come out? I need to take a look at that.
Yes, it did. And
But who else do we have on the menu to see this month?
next up is Jason Boland and the Stragglers.
One of my
I'm
favorites.
I'm looking forward to that group. That's going to be. I think it'll be a really packed crowd when he shows up. I was looking at his tour dates and all the things he's involved with, and he's a big group. Uh, I wasn't aware he's really involved. Has done a lot of things with Shooter Jennings.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. And speaking of Shooter, you and I saw him a long time ago at Sam's Burger Joint.
Yep.
God, I can't even remember how long ago that was. But do you remember who the opening band was for Shooter Jennings?
No, I don't. It's been a while.
I'll give you a hint. The band was called Waymore.
Oh yeah, way more. This,
It was his dad's opening. His dad's band.
right.
Yes, it was his dad's band, and that so they're also his band, but they also do a
Open.
little
Yeah.
thing, and it's called Waymore as an opening act. So they his band opens up for him, and then they come back out and they play with Shooter Jennings. If that makes sense to y'all.
Yes. But I was really impressed with the show that Mitchell Ferguson put on before Austin came on, and just I really enjoy watching the crowd. When you watch the crowd, you can tell you get a pretty good idea of uh, the entertainer's talent and how they get into it and how they respond to the crowd.
Yeah, he's been at it for a little while. Apparently, he was in a band in Dallas. It was called a psych rock band called Louisiana Purchase. He did that for a little while. Then he was on that NBC show, The Voice, as a contestant, and he's got his own band now. He's he's played at Gas Monkey Garage up there. He's shared the stage with Ryan Bingham and Shaky Graves and William Clark Green and Ray Wiley Hubbard. You know, so
Right.
like you were saying, he knows how to entertain the crowd. He definitely has that stage presence, and I think he's on the verge of getting noticed because it's very rare for an opening act such as Mitchell Ferguson to get an entire hour to play because most normal I mean opening acts they only get 20, 30, 45 minutes tops. But Austin Meade gave him an entire hour, so that's pretty nice.
Yes, it is.
So back to Austin Meade. He had mentioned that he's got a new album coming out, and I can't tell if it's a CD or an EP, but it's called Heartbreak Coming, and it looks like there's 5 songs on it. Oh no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That was 2016. What is it? He has a new song out. What was it called? So Black Sheep came out last year. Before that was Waves. Before that was Chief of Sinners. Oh man, I just had it a minute ago. He has a new song coming out. Something about losers. Help me out here, Dad. Carry the load here for a minute while I do a little bit of internet searching. Talk to the crowd, people.
Yeah, one thing about Austin, his he has his open soulfulness on how he feels and the energy that you can feed off of him. I felt myself really getting into to the music, even though as a general rule, I'm not so much into some of the music that's that's played nowadays. As traditionalists, I guess, but going out and seeing him was actually better than what I expected. I I knew it was going to be a good show because we've seen him earlier to open, but
Right.
to, to see the interaction and the reaction to him and his band and the crowd is really a lot of fun. And I attribute a lot of that too. Also, is to the atmosphere that they're playing in.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So the single that he has out now is called Loser Mentality. Loser Mentality. It's out now. So if you want to know more, you can go to austinmead.com to learn more about Austin Meade, and you can go to mitchellferguson.info. Mitchellferguson.info if you want any more information on those two artists. And as you said, later this month, I think in 2 Saturdays, we will be seeing Jason Bolin and the Stragglers on the 26th at John T. Floor's Country Store. And then in March, March 19th, anniversary of me joining the Army in 1986. Blackberry Smoke returns to John T. Floor's Country Store, and that's an outdoor show, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm
Yeah,
looking forward even more for you to seeing Blackberry Smoke because I really dig them, really dig them.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that show with Blackberry Smoke. They they really travel, and I was doing some research on some of their tours. They have probably about 6 or 8 tour dates in Canada, which surprised me. I don't know why I did, but I just not expect him to have that many dates in Canada. So that tells you a little bit about his music and how he transcends to all genres.
Oh, I definitely agree. Their motto is they're too country for rock, too rock for country.
Yep.
So yeah, they're one of my favorite bands, along with Jamie Johnson. And speaking of Blackberry Smoke and Jamie Johnson, if you ever get a chance, go to YouTube, look up "Yesterday's Wine." That's a George Jones song, and they do a duet, or I don't know if it's a real word, triet or whatever, because the singer from Blackberry Smoke, Jamie Johnson, and George Jones are doing "Yesterday's Wine" with Blackberry Smoke Band being the backup band, and it is just an incredible song. It was
Yes.
probably recorded maybe 10 years ago, but go to YouTube and check it out. It's fantastic. That'll give you a little taste of who Blackberry Smoke is.
Yes.
So wow, we got
Yeah.
a lot coming up at John T. Floors, for at least on the country music side. And next month, I
Yep.
have I got three concerts that I'm going to be going to that aren't at Floors. One is at a place called the Paper Tiger, and that's to see the Well. They're kind of a psychedelic rock band out of Austin that I really dig. And then a week later, Monday the 21st, Judas Priest is doing their 50th anniversary show, or I should say 50th anniversary concert. Though technically that was supposed to have happened 2 years ago, but for those of you who aren't paying attention, there's been a pandemic and a lot of concerts have been canceled and rescheduled. So the 2020 concert was rescheduled for 2021. And just a few weeks before they were supposed to play San Antonio, uh, their lead guitarist, Richie Faulkner, had something happen with his heart while he was on stage. And what had happened was his aorta exploded
Oh
while he
wow.
was while he was on stage doing a guitar solo. His aorta exploded. He was able to finish the song. Um, they took him off the stage, got him to a hospital, and 8 hours of open heart surgery to correct his aorta. So thankfully, he survived the surgery. They're back out on the road, and they're going to finish up the rest of the tour. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Judas Priest. They've been around since 1970, and they've been one of my favorite bands since I was a teenager back in the '80s. Funny story about Judas Priest. Good buddy of mine in high school, Dan Barrett. We were in his car one night listening to the radio, and a Judas Priest song came on, and I was headbanging, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing while I was headbanging, and my head hit his windshield, and I cracked his windshield with my headbanging to Judas Priest. Hand to God, that is a true story. You can ask my friend Daniel Barrett. I cracked his windshield on his car listening to Judas Priest.
That's what makes good memories.
Yeah, or makes your friend mad because you cracked his windshield and you never paid him for it.
It's
But
made.
if you do see Dan, don't ask him if I paid him for the windshield, or don't remind him because he'll want payment.
That's why that's why time improves everything, right?
I hope so. I hope so. I'm not lying. That really did happen.
So I have a question for you on Jason Boland.
Right?
How how's that mixture with red dirt and Texas country? I don't understand that. What is? Tell me about that.
I didn't do any research, and now you're going to make me have to stop and pull away and do some research on red dirt country music. Has to do with the the red dirt of Oklahoma, because I believe that's where it all started. And
Yes,
it's a genre of country music that got its name from the color of the dirt in Oklahoma. Predominantly Stillwater is considered the center of the red dirt country music. Uh, what else? A lot of artists. Um, I'm
he
trying to
has.
think. Cody Canada
Yeah,
also
Canadian crossweed.
cross Canadian ragweed. Very good, very good. They were probably one of the biggest to come out of the red dirt country sound. Who else?
Stony LaRue.
Stony LaRue. Uh, there's a hard rock album, a band called Texas Hippie Coalition. They're part of that red dirt uh, uh, outgrowing or whatever. Bob Childers, The Great Divide, Wade Bowen, as you said, Jason Boland and the Stragglers. Yeah, it's just huge thing that was really big about 20 years ago up until about 5, 10 years ago, and it's kind of died down, I guess, that fervor, and I guess it's just become thing. The music is just mainstream, I guess now.
Yeah.
Red Dirt just isn't as big as a term or following as it once was. But wow, hey, kudos to you for doing a little homework and research and learning about red dirt country.
Yeah, and as we get closer, I'm getting more and more excited about seeing that group,
Yeah,
their connections
really good.
and
I like them.
their music.
But then again, I like everybody, don't I?
Yes,
So what else? We've talked about floors. We've talked about Austin Mead, Mitchell Ferguson, tamales, Jason
then
Bowl.
then a little bit later this summer, we're going to change it up and go see Johnny Mathis.
Yes, we are. Johnny Mathis.
Yep,
That's the Tobin Center.
yep.
Probably this summer. Is it July?
So that's a good time to be at the Tobin Center is in July.
Yeah, definitely not indoors at floors or
Yeah,
outdoors at floors. When is that? Did I even put it on the calendar yet? I found it.
yeah,
July 28th, Thursday night.
yeah. That will be interesting. We'll see how well your mom enjoys that.
Oh, I think she will.
Yeah, and the one of the things about going to these concerts, you get a chance to help these artists out by buying some of their merchandise and things like that. Uh,
Oh, most
and
definitely.
and they get that shirt for your mom. She she
Yeah, when you said, "Hey, what should I get your mom?" I was like, you're getting a little too close to the microphone. If you're hearing a little static, people, that's his hearing aids, and I think when he gets a little too close to the mic, I think he causes some feedback. So cut us some slack. We're old farts. Some of us are more deaf than others. But yeah, when you were talking about getting her a shirt, I'm like, man, she won't. She doesn't want a T-shirt, and you're like, she'll wear it around the house. I took a closer look at the shirt, and what did the shirt say?
It says better alone,
Happier alone.
happier alone. Yeah, and that's her.
Yep.
It was kind of funny. I was looking at their merchandise, and of course you were too. And the guy had that one in his hands, but he hadn't really put it out on display yet. So I kind
Okay.
of watched. Then once he put it out, I said, "That's it. That's the one for her."
So when you get a
So
chance, you should pull up the video for "Happier Alone" by Austin Mead and play it for mom. And
Yeah, I'll do that.
You might get a kick out of it. Well, to take Aunt Carolyn's message and word. Oh, before I do that, because we're at 25 minutes, we're getting near the end. I wanted to share a little bit of information with you and our few listeners that we have reached 45 downloads for the podcast.
Oh, wow.
45. 45. Um, we would have had some more, but you and I have encountered some difficulties the last couple of times we've tried to record a podcast for some.
Well, more me than you.
Okay, well, at least you said it, not me. And for some reason, that one episode we recorded and you dropped out and you came back, it just wasn't able to save all of the audio and it never synced up. And I just, before we started, I had to delete it because it just never finished downloading. And had we done that, we might have had 50, 60 downloads on it because we'd had one more podcast out there than we normally did. So, just a little bit of statistics. For our very first world premiere episode, we had 21 downloads. We had 5 for the teaser, 14 for the second episode, and then I did a quick little 15, 20-second teaser or whatever, but it was more of a public safety announcement when we had that freezing weather, was about a week and a half ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, I did a little public service announcement to tell everybody to be careful while you're out there on the ice. If you don't have to be, stay home. So that got 4 downloads. So we've had 45 all-time downloads. I'm pretty impressed. It's way more than I ever thought would ever listen to this. But I don't know if that means 45 people or I think it just means 45 total downloads. I don't know how many people that was. So to you few people who have downloaded and listened to our podcast, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. I know my dad does too.
Yeah, that makes it fun and it's enjoyable. And the more we get into this, the more fun it is for me. And what's really nice about it, and what I enjoy, is that the time you and I put together. Because when you're in the military, you're away from the family a lot, and so all the years we're kind of making up for some of those times, and that's why I was really glad that we got a chance to go see Austin Mead. Like I said, really, it's not probably something I would have done by myself. But now that you've introduced me to him, I really like his music. Uh, I enjoy the show they put on. When you get a chance to watch these groups and you see the different band members and how they perform and how they get into it, it really makes a big difference. And it makes it for a fun evening. Then actually watching the crowd interact with him, uh, that made it even more special.
I agree.
And you get into it a little bit.
I do, and like I mentioned to you at the concert that night, I am trying very hard consciously to not stay in that box of, that window in time where all of the music that you listen to, and you stay in that box and you don't really venture too far out of it with the new stuff or the old stuff. You just stay right there in that little window in time.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying hard to not stay stuck in the 80s and 90s. I'm branching out, listening to newer, younger artists. The old artists are still putting out great music, so don't turn your back on them just because you don't hear them on the radio. Go to the YouTube, go to Spotify, go to all these streaming platforms and seek out these different artists. You will be impressed. You really will.
Yeah. And what was fun about him, a couple of times, there's a little ZZ Top in there, and
Back up a little bit, old man.
a few other groups that you pick up on, you can reminisce with them. So it's what's nice is you get some of the older stuff, some of the older artists, and the young guys don't forget who got them to where they're at, and that's what's fun about it, and watching all these groups come around and and then spending time with someone who's very special with you. And to all those old farts out there, I'm gonna tell you, you need to spend more time with those who are special to you.
Oh, you make me tear up, old man.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, all right, everybody. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I know my dad does doing all this stuff. And thank you. Keep listening. Please be patient with us as we struggle to find our way with this podcast and find our voice and struggle with technology. But we're doing it. We're trying.
We'll do that and have fun, and I'll see you down the road.